everyone. My name is Dr. Lee and I come from Bukit Mertajam. Right now, I'm staying in Johor, in Kluang. So welcome everyone to my program, to my channel. As all of you know, I'm now uploading my second book. The second book which I published 2 years ago, probably 3 years ago. It was in December 2021. And now it's April 2024. So by the end of this year, it would have been 3 years since I published my second book. So this is my first book, 38 chapters altogether, all different parts of grammar. And this is my second book, 40 lessons altogether, all different parts of grammar. All 40 parts of grammar are not the same. But then, if you were to think, it's only the second book and you already have a chance to do 40 different types of grammar, I would say that even if we were to know all parts of grammar, I don't think it will reach more than 50. I don't think it will be more than 50. So that is to say, even in the second book itself, you are already exposed to 40 different types of grammar. And the first book, this book has 38 different parts of grammar. And all these 38 parts of grammar is in here as well. And I add 2 more. So now, I'm actually doing my third book. And my third book has 42 lessons altogether. So it means to say that we are quite close to the complete version of grammar, because as I told you before, it won't be more than 50. I believe so. I believe so. So it's like every level I add 2 chapters. But then all the 38 lessons in book 1 will be in book 2, will be in book 3, book 4 and book 5. I'm now doing book 3 halfway through. And you will see all 40 lessons of book 2 in book 3 and add 2. Why is this so? Why does this happen? So English is not like any other subjects. I believe languages are practically the same. I believe like Bahasa Melayu and English, they are almost the same. Let us talk about the Nahu, the grammar part. Even in Bahasa Melayu, in primary school, you learn sendi nama, sendi kata, you learn imbuhan. When you go to secondary school, you still learn sendi nama, sendi kata, imbuhan. You go to university, you also learn sendi nama, sendi kata, imbuhan. But maybe you don't learn university. Maybe you have to use all your knowledge of imbuhan and sendi nama, sendi kata. English is the same. Let us say you are working now. You are working in an office. You still have to use and the in your emails, in any articles, in any reports that you are writing. You still will be using pronouns, you'll be using present tense and past tense, which you actually learn in primary school. So using this concept, having this concept in your mind, you will understand now why level 1 and level 2 have the same thing. They have the same thing. All the lessons that are in level 1 will be in level 2. All the lessons in level 2 will be in level 3. And all lessons in level 3 will go to level 4. So it's like from level 1, 38 lessons, bring to level 2, add 2. So that means level 2 has 40 lessons or 40 chapters. And all 40 chapters will go to level 3, add another 2. So level 3, 42 lessons or 42 chapters. Level 4, I will bring all the level 3 to level 4 and add another 2. So it will be 44 chapters or lessons. So it's just like throughout our life, as using English, we are actually using what we learn in primary school. right up to the time we are working. Because in whatever we do, we need to use and the. We need to use positive and negative statements and questions. We need to use WH questions. We need to use reflexive pronouns like myself, yourself, himself, themselves. You do it in primary school. Are you going to tell me that you are in university now, therefore I have learned all this, I don't have to use anymore? No. You have to use it lifelong. You have to. So when people ask me, what is the difference between level 1 and level 2? For now. Later on, there will be people asking me, what is the difference between level 1, 2 and 3? I will say that the chapters are the same. What you learn in level 1, you learn again in level 2. What you learn in level 2, you learn in level 3. But I can only tell you one difference. The questions become harder and harder and harder. Like my level 3 now. Half of the book is direct, like this one, very direct. I explain like this, you do like this. But the other half, it is starting to use your brain, your mind, starting to use your thinking skills. Grammar towards the end is not as simple as anyone thinks. So the questions are harder and more challenging. As you go higher and higher and higher in your levels, you discover that it's not direct anymore. You discover that, oh, I see this, therefore the answer is that. Not necessary, because you have to start thinking. You have to start using your thinking skills. And remember, English, it can be a verb, it can also be an adjective. That's the beauty. Or it could be a verb, but it could also be a noun. It has several forms. And another thing is, we have rules, no doubt, but the rules don't apply all the time. There are certain exceptions. So as you go higher, you learn exceptions. Is it just because there is a don't, it must be a do? Is it like this? Questions will come up like this. The basic rules are still there, but there are exceptions to the rule. Or in this situation, you cannot do like this. So as you go higher, the questions become more and more challenging, more and more difficult. That's all. Other than that, all the chapters that you learn from level 1 will appear in the last level. Same, the whole set goes in. The whole set goes in. And each time adding two chapters, and 2 chapters. Okay? Now, I'm now going to share with you lesson 35, part 2, or second video. Because this chapter, we call it question text. This question text is very wide, very wide. There are so many things to learn. That is why I cannot finish in one video. Looking at the number of questions per exercise 9, per exercise 9, 18. Before that, level 1 and 2, 18. Now we still have, exercise 1 and 2, 18. Exercise 3 and 4, 18. Exercise 5 and 6, 28. So how are we ever going to do all in one video? It is not possible in my point of view, from my point of view. So I sort of split up. Level 1 and 2, one video. I keep saying level. Exercise 1 and 2, one video. Now exercise 3 and 4, another video. Let us look at the board now. This is called question text. Exercise 3. As I explain, I will tell you why we need question text in our life. Why we need question text in our writing? Why? So look at the first one. He wasn't repairing the roof, was he? When I say he wasn't, that means at the time I'm speaking or writing, I am sure, I think, I believe he was not doing it. And then I ask, was he? When I ask was he, is a question. So I want an answer. What is the answer that I expect from you? What is the answer that I want? What is the answer I think you will say? So your answer, I expect you to agree with me. That is why I say he wasn't first. I did not say he was. Because I believe he wasn't. I'm sure he wasn't. Therefore, the answer I expect is no, he was not. Or no, he wasn't. This is the answer I want. So why do we use question text? For reconfirmation. To confirm again what I think by asking another person. That is why we use question text. And basically, the answer follows the front, it doesn't follow the back. It follows the front. So that means when we ask someone something, we think that it is like this, we start with a positive, he is. But if we think, at the time we are asking, if we think that he is not, then we start with he is not. And then the answer that we want is, if I start with he is, the answer I want is yes, he is. If I start with he isn't, the answer I want is no, he isn't. That's all. It's that simple. Okay? She hasn't gone to work, has she? Again, you see. So how do you do it? First of all, this he, bring it to the back. It becomes a small letter. Small h, small e. See? He, she, you, they, we, it, I, you. Can you see that? Can you see that? It's the same. The only difference is, this is a big letter H. When it comes here, it's the end of the sentence, so it becomes a small letter. So small H. She has gone to work. She hasn't gone to work, has she? Same. The she becomes small letter, and then this word wasn't, bring it to the back after the comma, and use the opposite. Wasn't becomes was, hasn't becomes has. Use the opposite. Okay? And the answer that I want is here, follow here, not here. Okay? Number 3, you won't forget to switch off the fan, will you? Again, this word won't. Won't means will not. There is no word called willn't. W-I-L-L-N apostrophe T. No. Will not means won't. So, won't, put it behind the comma and it changes to will. You bring it to the back. The last word, put a question mark. That's it. What is the answer that I want? I start with will not. The answer that I want is no, I will not. Or no, I won't. That is why I start with a negative. Negative, you can see N apostrophe T, N apostrophe T, N apostrophe T. That's negative. It is a short form for the word not. So when I ask, I believe you will not forget. I believe you won't forget. I'm sure you won't forget. I know you won't forget. So I ask you for confirmation. And what is the answer that I want? The answer that I want is no, I won't forget. Because I started with you won't forget, will you? See? They weren't painting the wall, were they? Same style. This they, bring it to the back of the sentence, all in small letters, put a question mark. And then the word weren't, bring it behind the comma. It becomes the opposite. Weren't becomes were. Okay? So it's the same thing. When I ask you, I start with a negative. I say they weren't painting the wall, were they? When I ask you, when I say they weren't, that means I believe they were not. I'm sure they were not. I believe they were not. Okay? That is why I start with they were not or they weren't. And then behind I say were they? Because I want to ask you a question. And then the answer that I want is following the first one. following here, not follow here. So the answer that I want is here. No, they weren't. The answer that I expect, the answer that I want, the answer that I want you to want from you is following the first time I say they weren't. So the answer is no. No, they weren't. Okay? You haven't washed the clothes, have you? So it's the same thing. You bring it to the end is you also. But then small letters. After the comma, haven't bring over here, it becomes the opposite, have. That is how we do it. Okay? So, same situation, I ask you with haven't. Therefore, the answer that I want you to agree with me. The answer that I want, the answer that I expect, the answer that I need you to tell me is no. To agree with me here, I want you to say, no, I haven't. I expect you to say, no, I haven't. That is why I started with, you haven't. We can't play in the rain, can we? When I ask this question, I believe we cannot. We can't. I'm sure we can't. I think we can't. So I start with, we can't. Then I ask you the question, can we? What answer do I want? What answer do I expect? The answer I want is, no, we can't. That is why I started with, we can't. So I want you to say, no, we can't. I expect you to say, no, we can't. I need you to agree with me that we can't. So this is the use of question text. Okay? It isn't dark inside the room, is it? So when I start with it isn't, this isn't bring it to the back, it becomes is after the comma. But then this word it comes at the back of the sentence, it becomes small letters IT. And after this small letter, it put a question mark. So like here, when I say it isn't dark in the room, I believe that the room is not dark. I'm sure the room is not dark. I think the room is not dark. Then I ask you, I want to confirm, is it? So when I ask you like this, what is the answer that I want? What is the answer that I expect? What is the answer that I need you to say? I need you to agree with me. So the answer that I want or I expect is, no, it isn't. I didn't lock the gate, did I? When I say this, that means I'm sure I did not lock the gate. I believe I did not lock the gate. I forgot. But I ask you, did I? I ask you as a question. So I expect an answer from you. So I want you to say, no, you didn't. I expect you to say, no, you didn't. I think you should say, no, you didn't. That is why I started with didn't. And here, same thing, I bring it to the back. Didn't becomes the opposite did. And where do you write the word did? After the comma. And the word I mentioned in the last video, if you still remember. I, in any part of an article, an essay, or writing, email, I must be in big letters. So, technology. You see a lot of people. Nowadays, we receive messages, WhatsApp messages, or even WeChat, or when people give comments and all that. You don't see big letters anymore. Even in Google, if you are looking for something, you don't even have to type a big letter. All you have to do is just type. And even our email addresses, most of it we just use small letters most of the time, unless it is like password, where they say you must have a big letter, then we do it. Otherwise, all small letters. But then, if you are a teacher now, so teachers, please teach your students, especially primary school. Don't wait until they go to secondary school, because by that time, secondary school teachers teach also. But then by that time, the student is big. So he or she would be so used to it, it becomes a habit. So all small letters. Then habits are hard to break. It's very hard to ask people to change their habits. Not to say they cannot, but it's hard. Okay, so if you are a teacher now, you please teach your student. The word I anywhere in a sentence is in big letters. It cannot be small letters. Okay? You couldn't solve the problem, could you? When I start with you couldn't, that means I believe you cannot. You could not. I'm sure you could not. I believe you could not. That's why I started with you couldn't. Okay? And then I ask you, could you? Could you? What is the answer that I want? No, I couldn't. What is the answer I expect? No, I couldn't. What is the answer that I need you to answer me? No, I couldn't. Why? I need you to agree with me that you couldn't. That is why I started with couldn't. Do you understand? Do you understand? So the same thing, you put it at the last, put it here, the end of the sentence, but all in small letters. And after the comma, this couldn't bring over. After the comma, give the opposite. Couldn't, the opposite is could. So this part becomes a question. And then we want an answer. And the answer that we want is here. Follow the front. Alright? So let us now go to exercise 4. Exercise 4 is the same thing. Starting with a negative. That means we believe the answer is no. So we start with negative. It ends with a positive. The answer we want is negative again. So it's negative, positive, negative. If I start with positive, negative, answer positive again. So let us say I could. Couldn't I? Answer is yes, you could. So it's could, couldn't, could. But if I start with I couldn't or you couldn't, couldn't, could, and then answer couldn't. You see what I mean? Yes, because that is the expected answer. When I ask the question, the answer that I want, the answer that I expect is following the first part, not the second part. Let us look here. This time, I start with, except for number 2, the rest I start with people, people's names, or people themselves. So the first thing that you must do, if you are doing this type of, if you are writing or speaking anything to do with question text, this is what you do. First of all, identify the subject. In the case of number 1, the subject is the students. You can see students has an S behind. When you put S behind people, that means it's many. So the students means they. So you can see they, we, she, they, she, he, they, she. What do you see? You see that for question text, the last word must be a pronoun. It must be I, you, we, they, he, she, it. The last word. That means you cannot say the students mustn't be late for school. Must the students? You cannot say like this. You cannot bring the students to the back. No. You change the students to the pronoun they, and then you put they. You don't put the students. So the students mustn't be late for school, must they? So first thing, the students change to the pronoun they. After the comma, bring this must over, mustn't becomes must. That means you use the opposite. But you start with negative, you finish with positive. The answer that you want is negative. If you start with positive, the last part is negative, your answer is positive. I repeat. Positive, negative, answer positive. Expected answer. Positive, negative, positive. Negative, positive, negative. Okay, follow the first part. Let us look here. The students mustn't be late for school, must they? So when I ask this question, why do I ask this question? Because I believe they must not be late. I'm sure they must not be late. I want you to agree with me. So I ask you, must they? The answer that I want is no, they mustn't. That is why I started with mustn't. If I want the answer to be yes, then I start with must. But again, I started with mustn't. So the answer that I want, the answer that I expect, the answer that I need you to say is I need you to agree with me. They mustn't be late. Therefore, the answer should be no, they mustn't. Okay? We shan't go to the restaurant for dinner. Shall we? Now this word and this word, they are very special. You cannot put an apostrophe T for will. Willn't. No. Will not means won't. Shall not means shan't. Not shalln't. So you see? So I have given this type of exercises to students, and I see they are very happy, you know, put an apostrophe T, they are very happy, all an apostrophe T. And then when they come to will, they say willn't. When they come to shall, shalln't. Because negative means an apostrophe T. Again, we are learning English. Basically it's like that, but not all are like that. This is something we need to know about this language. So shan't, after the comma, bring this word shan't to the back. It becomes shall, the opposite. And we, of course this is easy. We is we, same answer. Except that you use small letters because I use a pronoun. I started with a pronoun, so it's easy. You just end with a pronoun. But if I start with the name of a person, then you have to start changing it first. You have to identify the subject. If the subject is the name of a person, then to think whether it's a man or a lady. If it's a man, you change to he. A lady, you change to she. If it is an animal, example the rabbit, then you change to it. You change it to the pronoun. So, Ariana wouldn't lend you her book, would she? When I ask this question, I'm sure, or I believe, or I think Ariana wouldn't lend you. That is why I started with Ariana wouldn't lend you, would she? When I ask you would she, I want an answer. So it becomes a question mark. I want an answer. What is the answer that I want? No, she wouldn't. What is the answer I expect? No, she wouldn't, because I started with wouldn't. So the answer that I want, the answer that I expect, I want you to agree with me, is wouldn't. So no, she wouldn't. Your cousins don't visit you often, do they? So when I say this, I'm sure that they seldom visit you. Or I believe they don't visit you often. Or I think they don't visit you often. So what is the answer I expect? I started with don't, so I expect the answer to be don't. I want you to say don't. I need you to agree with me. So you follow the front here. No, they don't. So same style, like here, Ariana is a girl or a lady. So you change to the pronoun she. And after this comma, this wouldn't bring it over here. It becomes the opposite, would. In the same way, your cousins, you can see the S there. So you know that it is more than one. If it is more than one, for pronoun we use they. So change to the pronoun they and the last word. And then this don't, bring it over. After the comma, don't becomes do, the opposite. Always remember, when you have all this an apostrophe T, 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 it means not. It means no. Okay, so it's no, yes, no, yes, no, yes. The answer that I want is following the front. So like here, your cousins don't visit often, do they? What is the answer I want? No, they don't. I expect you to say no. Because I started with a negative. I started with, they don't visit you often, do they? I have to ask you, do they? Because it's actually a question. It is a question. No choice. I need to put a question mark. But the answer that I want when I ask you this, the answer that I expect you to say is the front part. So how I start is how I want the answer to be. How I expect the answer to be. So I want you to agree with me. So I start with don't, I want you to say no. I start with do, I want you to say yes. That is why I ask you, because I need the reconfirmation. I need you to confirm with me. I need you to agree with me. The boys won't play. Play what? Let me see. Football tomorrow. Will they? Same. The boys, you can see S here, that means it's many. When it is many, it means they. So first thing first, they put it at the back of the sentence and then put a question mark. After that, look for the negative. It could be a positive. If it's a positive, you change to the opposite negative. If it is a negative, change to the opposite positive. So here is a negative, won't. Won't actually means will not. So when you bring it over, after the comma, will not becomes will. Okay? So when I ask you this question, what do I believe? They will not play. What do I think? They will not play. What am I sure of? They will not play. What is the answer I want? Yes or no? Follow the front, don't follow the back. Answer is no. Follow the front, don't follow the back. So I expect you to say no. I believe that you should say no. Why? Because when I ask you, I already believe that it is no. So I want you to agree with me. So when you agree with me, it's no. Irina doesn't live in a hostel, does she? Irina is a girl. So first of all, we change this Irina to she. Change it to the pronoun first. The pronoun for Irina is she. So the first thing is, Irina use she pronoun, the last word. After the she, what do? Put a question mark. And then the next part is won't. Doesn't. Doesn't. Bring it over. After the comma, doesn't becomes does. The opposite. What answer do I want? Yes or no? When I ask, I believe she doesn't live there. I'm sure she doesn't live there. I think she doesn't live there. So I start with saying she doesn't live there. And then I ask you, because I want an answer from you. I need a confirmation. So I say, does she? The answer that I want, the answer that I expect, the answer that I think you should tell me is, no, she doesn't. Simply because I started with a negative. I started with not. So I want you to say no. I expect you to say no. The expected answer is no, she doesn't. Remy couldn't finish his work on time. Could he? When I say this, either I know, I believe, I think, or I'm sure. So I know that he didn't finish. I know that he couldn't finish. Or I think he couldn't finish. Or I believe he couldn't finish. Or I'm sure he couldn't finish. So I ask you, could he? When I ask could he, it becomes a question. So because it is a question, I want an answer. So what answer do I want when I ask you like this? I started with couldn't. The answer that I want is no, he couldn't. Follow the front, don't follow the back. The expected answer is no, he couldn't. I want you to say no, he couldn't. I expect you to say no, he couldn't. Because I started with couldn't. So the answer that I want is couldn't as well. Okay? So the same case, Remy. Remy is a boy or a man. So this, of course, finish his work could be a man as well. I didn't say homework, I say work, so it could be a man. So it is he. The pronoun is he. So first of all, you change to the pronoun he first. All small letters. Put a question mark. Why do I need to put a question mark? Because it is a question. A question to which I need an answer. And then, after the comma, this word couldn't, bring it over here. After the comma. Couldn't change to could, the opposite of couldn't. But the answer is couldn't. Remember? Negative, positive, answer, negative. Positive, negative, answer, positive. What I say, expected answer. The answer that I want when I ask. The answer that I expect when I ask. So when I start with couldn't, I want the answer to be no. If I start with could, I want the answer to be yes. So follow the front. Okay? The women aren't going shopping, are they? The women. M-E-N is many. M-A-N is one. So here is many, therefore it is they. All in small letters. Remember, the last word in question text must be a pronoun. So you cannot say, can the women? You don't say that, can they? Okay, all in small letters. After that, aren't change to are. Where do you put the word are? After the comma. Again, I want to remind you, don't say aren't, say aren't. Aren't. Check with Google, then you will know. Many times you hear people say aren't, aren't, aren't. Many times you hear that. So I would tell you that it is aren't. Whether it is American English or British English, we still say can't. Some words, of course, we can always have a reason for saying like this. Like C-A-N apostrophe T. British will say can't. The Americans will say can't. Can't. You see? So for that is okay. If you like to say can't, just go ahead. Like the word dance. The British will say dance. The Americans will say dance. So both are correct. It's you. If you want to say dance, go ahead. If you want to say dance, go ahead. But then for this word, I cannot say go ahead because both the British and the Americans say aren't. Alright? So when I say like this, I think they are not going. I believe they are not going. I'm sure they are not going at the time I'm speaking. But then I want you to confirm with me. So I need an answer from you. So when I need an answer from you, I start with aren't, but then when I ask the question, I cannot say aren't you. I will say are you. Then what is the answer I want? What is the answer I expect? What is the answer I need you to say? I need you to agree with me. So the answer that is expected from you, that means the answer I expect, the answer that I want to hear. Follow the front, don't follow the back. So your answer is no, they aren't. This is the answer I expect you to tell me. Miss Wu can't attend the course, can she? So when I say like this, I start with can't. But I finish with can. It must be the opposite. And I put a question mark. What is the answer that I want? What is the expected answer? What is the answer that I need you to say? I need you to agree with me. So when you agree with me, you agree on the first part, can't. You don't agree on the second part, can. So your answer should be, no, she can't. So you see that Miss Wu, Miss, so is a woman, a lady. So you first of all change to the pronoun she, all in small letters, and then put a question mark. After that, look at the comma. If there's no comma, what do? You put it yourself. You need to put a comma. I tell you, for all exams, government exams, international exams, if you make 5 punctuation mistakes, no full stop, no big or small letters, no comma, no question mark, you are going to lose 5 mistakes you lose 1 mark. So wow, big thing. That's why in writing we can actually assess a person very well. Speaking still okay. Speaking, we also can assess a person through his speaking, but then what I would say, we still don't know whether that person can write well, although he or she can speak well. You can speak does not mean you can write. You can write does not mean you can speak. This is language. So lastly, can't becomes can. After the comma, Miss Wu is a lady, so it becomes she. All in small letters, put a question mark. Okay, so that's all for this lesson. Remember to give me a like, share, and subscribe to motivate me. Okay, and I will see you again in the next video, the 3rd video. I believe we need 4 videos to complete. And as usual, if you want to join my class, WhatsApp link. If you want to watch listening, want to learn speaking, go to my TikTok or my Instagram. And I repeat what I said before. If you are interested in your area, in the place, in the town where you live, if you have groups of people who want to learn English and you can organize, especially teachers, you can contact me. And I can go to your place. I can, if there are groups of people. But then if it is 1 or 2 or just a few of you, then you can learn from me if you want to. You can learn from me online. Okay, but of course if you are in Klang, you can come and see me. Okay, so that's all for this time. I will see you again in the next video. Goodbye.